Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Patriots of the American Republic. I am your host, Carlos, and tonight we've got a very interesting topic. We're going to be taking a look at the Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis feud that is heating up, and really it's making my heart hurt, to be quite honest with you, because I enjoy both of these guys, support both of these people, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, what I do want to mention is that let's start off by realizing and recognizing the fact that nobody's perfect, right? That includes Donald Trump. And let's be honest, everyone is extremely flawed. Some more than others, and Donald Trump, to be honest with you, is no exception. Looking at someone objectively and critiquing them does not make someone an enemy or disloyal in any way. In fact, there's criticism, right? It's constructive criticism. So let's be honest, loyalty should only be to God and really our country, right? But not really man. Why? Because man is flawed, right? Now, since Donald Trump's bid for presidency, he's been under constant attack from the left, specifically the media. They've demonized him from the very beginning. They've done and said just about anything to smear this guy, from calling him a racist to calling him a Russian spy, to even accusing one of the Supreme Court Justice nominees, Brett Kavanaugh, of sexual assault from 36 years ago, with no evidence whatsoever, just to prevent this man from, enacting his policies, putting his agenda in place, so on and so forth. Now, in my view, one of the best things about Donald Trump is that if you're boxing with him and you hit him, he takes off his gloves and he goes bare knuckle at you with both arms, right? He'll swing at you really hard. So, and that might be too much for some people, right? So the thing that makes him, one of his best attributes, is also one of his biggest opportunities in the eyes of some people. We can debate as to what that is and why. Some people like it, some people don't, and that's fine. Me personally, I like it when it's against the opposition, right? I had no problems with him coming up with nicknames, like Sleepy Joe and, Pocahontas. I have no issues with that. Or when he even called Kim Jong-un Little Rocket Man, right? Dangerous, but it worked, right? Now, when it came to the other two members, it was fun. It's not, wasn't in any way harmful. It wasn't degrading or anything of that nature. He did manage to call Marco Rubio Little Marco Rubio. I don't know how much of a great insult that is, to be honest with you. Just adding little to it. Yeah, I guess you're making fun of his height, whatever. It's not that big of a deal, but to be honest with you, a lot of that turns people off. It's politics, to be quite honest with you. People do that all the time. Democrats did that during the primaries. To a certain extent, right? And me personally, I would like to see less of that in-house. Attack each other on policies, sure. But I think going after each other in character and making insults, to me personally, is childish, immature, and unprofessional, which is some of the fair criticism that the left has given towards Donald Trump, and many that are in the middle, and even towards the right. It's one of the things that have prevented many people from coming over on the Trump train, is that particular character flaw, in addition to maybe his ego, his arrogance, etc., etc. I think that's just incumbent of anybody that's rich and wealthy and famous. My gosh, have you looked at the egos and arrogance throughout sports, and yet we follow them ridiculously? So, again, we're talking at a presidential level, and I get that. So I understand both sides of the coin. Now, what I do think is interesting is how the media has attacked him so much that he's constantly on the defense, and he has to counterattack. They've ridiculed him ridiculously. Now, again, looking at things fairly, balanced, and objectively, Trump now seems to have focused in on Ron DeSantis. On 4 separate occasions, he's taken a swipe or jabs at Ron DeSantis that I am aware of, without any cause. Meaning Ron DeSantis hasn't come out and attacked him, and here's Trump coming back and countering, right? Because if he counters, hey, if you threw the punch, you got to be willing to accept the counter punch, right? But to my knowledge, unless I'm mistaken, I haven't seen that from Ron DeSantis. So let's go over the attacks and let's see how this has played out, right? So in the first thing that we're going to show here, Trump actually goes in and attacks Ron DeSantis, on October 24th, 2002. I'm going to read the article, and this is from American Military News. This has been confirmed throughout multiple news sources. So it says, former President Donald Trump took aim at Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over the weekend in a post on his social media site, Truth Social. The post is the latest sign of competition between the former president, who continues to publicly flirt with a 2024 run for a second term, and the Republican governor, who is widely seen as Trump's potential political heir. A big mistake. Trump posted linking to a report that DeSantis endorsed a Republican Senate candidate who recently told CNN he would actively campaign against Trump if he ran in 2024. Basically, I read the article, and the article basically is that it's the fact that Ron DeSantis endorsed a Republican person who was going. Let me see here if I can find it. Joe O'Dea, right? He endorsed Joe O'Dea, and apparently, according to this report, Joe O'Dea is ready to, or is willing to, go up against Donald Trump. In a potential presidential campaign, right? So maybe Trump is saying that as a big mistake for Ron DeSantis to endorse this guy, knowing that this guy would go after. Number one, I don't really agree with that too much, because number one, who's to say that this guy's going to get elected? That's first of all. Number two, maybe Ron DeSantis is looking at the short gain versus the long gain. And maybe in the long game, he's like, this guy's not going to beat Trump anyhow. I just want to endorse him now so that he can get the seat that the party needs in order for us to have more wins and so on and so forth. I'm speculating, of course, right? I don't know. But even if, let's say, Ron DeSantis was endorsing him, so what? And he wants to go up against Trump. First of all, based on what I'm reading here, it doesn't say that he wants to. It's saying that he would. Hey, if it came down to it, listen, if I wanted to be president of the United States in 2024, I unfortunately would have to go up against Donald Trump. Not that I would, but it's just part of the game. I mean, what does Trump think, that nobody's going to run against him? Maybe that was true in 2020 because of the spectacular results that he did, but unfortunately he got beat, and now you've got new blood coming into the game. It is what it is. That's the way the freedom works. So here's the thing. I don't necessarily agree with this article that it's an attack towards DeSantis, and I don't agree with all the things that are being said in between, right? But it is nonetheless a swipe at him, and the swipes continue. As a matter of fact, in the next swipe that he takes at him, what he does is Megyn Kelly was interviewed by Dave Rubin, right? And in that interview, he asks Megyn Kelly if DeSantis can beat Trump. Now, here's what she says. Let's take a look.
The Trump-DeSantis thing.
Well, I just don't think anybody else could win if Trump runs. So, and I don't know.
You think if they got on a stage, you don't think that DeSantis is crafty enough or the record stands enough to really? Interesting.
No, I don't even think that a little. I think Trump sucks up all the energy in every room, no matter what. And even someone as skilled as a politician and smart policy-wise as DeSantis can't overcome that. He can't. The only way DeSantis is going to become the Republican nominee is if Trump chooses not to run and endorses him or dies. Like, I just don't see a world in which Trump says, I want it. Let's say he says, I want it, and DeSantis beats him fair and square in the primary. You really think the hardcore MAGA is going to abandon Trump for DeSantis? They're not. I talk to them all the time. I take calls from them on my radio show, and they won't. They like DeSantis, but they don't think it's his turn. They think Trump was screwed out of his last election, that he was screwed out of his first term by all the craziness, the Russiagate and so on. And they think he is entitled. He deserves another shot at it. And so unless Trump gracefully and graciously says, get behind DeSantis, I wouldn't put any chips on DeSantis at all.
That's really interesting. I mean, look, I've said many times, I'd love for them to work it out on the DL, have a dinner, figure out what has to be figured out and go forward. A lot of people, and I'm sort of moving on this a little bit, say that they should just get on the debate stage and do it, and whoever, comes out will be sharper for it. But I agree, there is a certain portion of like the base that would rather burn everything down if it doesn't get to Trump.
But it's a huge portion, Dave. It's a huge portion. Like the hardcore Trump faithful is unshakable. And I hear from them all the time. They like him, they like DeSantis, but they would never cross Trump for him. And they think that DeSantis owes his political career to Trump. Like if forced to choose, they will choose Trump. So DeSantis can't take him down. It's like
So there you have it. That was the interview that was done. And what Trump did was he tweeted that, or he reposted on his Truth social media, and he put like 100% fact or something like that, basically confirming and agreeing with what she said. And again, unnecessarily doing this because DeSantis isn't the one going after him saying, I can beat Trump or so on and so forth. He's not talking smack, right? So this is all unnecessary in my opinion. But it doesn't stop there. In fact, goes on to say, we see here that in the next attack, Trump, during a rally, Trump calls Ron DeSantis Ron DeSanctimonious. So let's listen to that.
But I used to come out and it used to drive the fake news crazy. But today I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had, perhaps partly because the Democrats are doing so badly running our country and people want our tremendous success of no inflation, energy independence, military victory. Remember, I defeated ISIS 100%. Remember? Al-Baghdadi and so many other things, including crime. We had it way down. But we have the best poll numbers. Where are they? Are they putting them up on the screen? I think so. Put them up. Look. Yeah, we're putting them up. We're winning big, big, big in the Republican Party for the nomination like nobody's ever seen before. Let's see. There it is. Trump at 71. Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%. Mike Pence at 7. Oh, Mike's doing better than I thought. Liz Cheney, there's no way she's at 4%. There's no way. Smart.
And there you have it. Again, that's the third time that he takes a swipe at Ron DeSantis unnecessarily. And that's the thing I want to focus in on. Unless I'm mistaken, Ron DeSantis has not been the initiator of any swipes, jabs, or attacks at Donald Trump, right? So now the fourth one is basically another tweet, social or truth. I don't know what to call it on Truth social media. I think I signed up, but it's just too much with the social medias, right? But anyhow, so where he reiterates and calls him Ron DeSanctimonious once again. So there's 4 different attacks, unnecessary attacks that Trump has done on Ron DeSantis. Now, let's assess this, right? Before I get into it, I do want to say that I am a vivid, passionate Trump supporter. I am a MAGA guy. I was a MAGA guy before MAGA was even a catchphrase, right? I've always loved my country. I've always believed that we're a country of laws. I've always been against illegal immigration. I've always been against abortion. I've always been for America first. It never made sense to me that we were shipping jobs overseas, etc. Right? So without having it right defined as MAGA, right? I've always believed in the concept of MAGA, and I still do, and I forever will, because I am an American. I was born here. I was born and raised here. And so I have love for my country. I have love for my fellow countrymen, and I want to see them all prosper, right? That being said, again, my loyalty is not to a particular individual. Right? My loyalty is to whatever makes this country great, whatever keeps it protected and keeps it prosperous, right? That can't be done under the Democrats. They hate this country. They love our enemies, and we can see that. But they seem to have a lot of disdain for this country. So from the Democratic side, I don't see that happen. From the Republican side, it just depends, right? The Republican Party is a mixed bag of different people. You have your establishment rhinos, which I don't trust for a lick, right? I think they're on the same boat as the Democrats, and they'll sell out this country just to enrich themselves. And we see that happening with very, very prominent members within the Republican Party. So the Republican Party isn't innocent by any means. Again, I'm focused on not just who says America is great and wants to see it great. I'm focused on who's actually taking steps, putting policies into place, and making actions happen. And that's why people love Trump, because that's exactly what he did. And Megyn Kelly's 100% right in the sense that, and I've said this before, imagine if the media had just been fair with him, right? If the media had just been fair and balanced, how much more could this guy have accomplished in the 4 years that he was there? How much better would our country have been, more than what it was, right? But he was divided in his focus and his attention because of the constant attacks, the lies, the investigations. It was absurd. Presidential harassment, as Trump has said. So I've made my case in that. Now, I want to assess this because, to be quite honest with you, it's really important to be objective. I'm not a cultist, right? I call things out, right? And Trump has been known to shoot himself in the foot and say things that do not help him. Up to you whether how much that affects your view on him, right? Again, I can push past the emotional part and look at the results. Is he getting the job done? Are we in a better spot? You know what? I can look past this stuff and go here, right? Versus having a real smooth talker and getting nothing done and selling us out. Take your pick, right? But let's assess what he's got here. So in my opinion, it's again unnecessary because, number one, DeSantis, even though there's rumors and there's that potential of DeSantis going in 2024, he hasn't announced it. So these are preemptive strikes. You might say, well, preemptive strike, that's pretty good. No, it could actually egg somebody on to say, I can't beat you. Well, let's see, right? I think Obama did that with Trump. It's like Trump called him the worst president in American history. And Obama said, well, at least I am president, or at least I've been president, and you'll never be president, something along those lines. And Trump said, oh, yeah, really? Okay, watch me run. And he did, and he won, right? So preemptive things, especially within party, right? That's the key part here, is within the Republican Party. If it were the opposing side, I could care less. Do it. Go for it. They deserve it. They need it. Whatever. The other side of it is the lack of professionalism. This is our president. And I know he's our former president, right? You have the puppet right now in the White House. But this is our president. It does come across very unprofessional and not presidential-like. And some people might say, I don't care. I don't care. I don't want political correctness from him. And I agree with you. I don't want political correctness either. But there's something when it comes to your comrades, your peers. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different there. These aren't your enemies. At least not at the moment. Right? I'd be okay with him taking these jabs and these swings if Ron DeSantis came out. Again, you throw a punch, you better be prepared to take a punch. That's not what's happening here. Right? And so that it may not move the base of Trump's support, but guess what? We've already seen that we as the base cannot win this alone. We need those independents. We need those people that are in the middle to come over to our side on the voting ballot. Because with those people, and we need to bring some people from the left, so those moderate Democrats that believe that the left has just gone ridiculously too insane. We need to bring those guys over here too. And if we say stuff like this, or if we're doing stuff like this, it may turn them off. And we might go, well, who cares? No, look, that attitude is what's getting us right here, right now. This is why we're dealing with the puppet, part of why we're dealing with the puppet in the office right now, right? Because we didn't have, even though what happened was questionable, there were irregularities and all this nonsense. But to be quite honest with you, right, we're at the loss. We're at the losing end of the spectrum, unfortunately. That's just the reality of it. So all these things really does add to the criticism from the left. I don't pay attention to the left because they've just, again, demonized them. They've gone so far with the making up stuff, like him removing the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office, which was a complete lie. Sarah Huckabee Sanders at the time was the press secretary, and she was able to prove that it was a lie, and the reporter had to surprisingly apologize for it. Remember when there was a rumor that somebody in the administration said Kung flu regarding C-19, and so Kellyanne Conway was like, who said it? Tell me who said it, and I'll address it. And they couldn't say it because it was a phony baloney lie. So you know what? The left has lied about Trump so much that I don't really put much stock into anything they do. But it adds on to that criticism that comes from them, is all I'm saying. The other part that I want to say is that Ron DeSantis remains very, very classy and very professional. During these attacks, and we just mentioned the first attack took place October 24th, and the last one was just this past week, the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look here just to... it was, about 11 days ago. So looks like it was on the 7th. Actually, no, I'm sorry. November the 5th, right? So November the 5th was the most recent attack, and Ron DeSantis has remained professional. Ron DeSantis has not gone after Trump. Ron DeSantis was focused on getting reelected during his gubernatorial race. Ron DeSantis was focused on hurricane recovery. We had a hurricane level 1 come through here, and Ron DeSantis was all over that, just like he was all over Ian, which was like a category 3-4, somewhere in between there, right? This man has remained professional, and it's why so many on the GOP want DeSantis and are looking at DeSantis for 2024. Think about it this way. This is my personal assessment. I think Ron DeSantis has a lot of the things that makes Trump great without the things that don't make Trump great. You know what I mean? Like the media has gone after DeSantis as well. For instance, when DeSantis passed his the bill protecting children from being taught sexually oriented things at elementary school level, right? One reporter falsely accused it as being the "Don't Say Gay" bill. And so Ron DeSantis called him out. Where does it say "Don't Say Gay" in the bill? Please point that out to me. What page exactly? What paragraph? And they couldn't because it didn't say it. And Ron DeSantis called them out for it. Ron DeSantis calls out the media 100% of the time. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at his last campaign ad where he called himself Top Gov. I loved it. But he gives a couple of points on how to deal with the media.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking. Today's training evolution, dogfighting, taking on the corporate media. The rules of engagement are as follows. Number 1, don't fire unless fired upon, but when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force. Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill. Number 2, never ever back down from a fight.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or ask a question? Number 3, don't accept their narrative. It's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts. It's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's jump up.
That was one of the ads that he ran, and it's exactly what we talked about. You noticed how he, like Trump, punches and punches back. But the manner that he does it is a little bit different than Trump. There's less arrogance. There's less ego there. There's less ruthlessness, if you will. It's almost like a punch back at a professional level, right? I know that seems contradictory, but that's what it is, you know? So that's in part why many of the GOP would prefer DeSantis over Trump. He doesn't have those opportunities, those areas of opportunities. Again, we get Trump's strengths without the opportunity. So I understand that, and I agree with that as well. Here's the problem. And I don't have any evidence to show this because these are just rumors, and I hate doing rumors. I need solid evidence. But here are my concerns. When I initially saw this feud going on, I thought to myself, that's not good. I don't like it because I love both men. Let me get that straight. I love what Trump did for this country. He showed me and the rest of this world in real time what an actual president who loves this country is supposed to do policy-wise. And I love him for that. Because if you go back, Obama, do now Biden, Bush Jr., Clinton, Bush Sr., I didn't see the love for America. I heard it, but I didn't see it based on the policies that they were driving. You had a war machine in one aspect, and then you had a sellout in the three other aspects. Because how many of our jobs got sent overseas? China, since that time, China has become a superpower that rivals us. So you can't tell me that these presidents that were in place during those times really put America's best interests first. Seems like they put money first and what was beneficial to them or to their friends first. I'll let you decide. But going back to Ron DeSantis, my biggest concern, I love Ron DeSantis. Let me go back to what I love about Ron DeSantis. I said this in my previous video, or one of the previous videos. I owe Ron DeSantis my livelihood. Unfortunately, the company that I work for decided to do mandates with and Ron DeSantis got the state legislators together, and they came up with a bill that made it mandatory that every company had to give some type of an exemption. And there was, if I'm not mistaken, up to 5 different types of exemptions, one of them being religious exemptions, right? And so based on that, I wasn't forced to make the decision of, do I get or do I quit my job? Do I allow myself to get fired and go elsewhere, and so on and so forth? With the amount of family that I have, and I've got 5 kids overall, 4 that are still underneath my protection. I can't afford it, right? So I owe him my livelihood, right? He's been a phenomenal leader here in the state of Florida. He protected us from the ridiculousness of Fauci fraud, right? And all the mandates from the CDC or recommendations from the CDC and so on and so forth, right? Ron DeSantis stood the ground and went based off of science instead of the fear mongering that happened from the left. So for all those reasons, I hold Ron DeSantis in high regards. My concern with Ron DeSantis is, unlike Trump, who has his own money, DeSantis doesn't. Can he be bought out? That's my question. My concern. The fact that the elitists are so against Trump, right? These elitists, they don't care about you. They just care about themselves. And we've seen that over the past couple of decades under the presidents that I previously mentioned. These are elitists. They're globalists. They only care about themselves and enriching themselves. They don't really care about anybody else. So when you have a guy that disrupts all that, and they're panicking, that makes me pull for that guy. I'm not making this correlation from a religious aspect, meaning I don't want to compare Trump to Jesus. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just comparing the scenario. Why was Jesus persecuted by the Pharisees? Remember, the Pharisees were elitists. They held the people to a certain degree. They didn't do it themselves. They were hypocrites and so on and so forth. And so when Jesus comes in, he interrupted their power. And what did they do? They opposed him. United. Again, I'm not saying that Trump is Christ. Please don't do that. I would never do that. Christ is Christ alone. I'm just looking at the scenario, the similarity of the scenario. You've got your elitists going against the person who's trying to take down, or going against what they represent and what they're standing for, their disruption of power. And you've got the same thing here. You've got the elitists coming together to go against Trump because Trump disrupts their power. I just want to lay that out to you. So, can DeSantis go against, will he, can he go against these elitists and these globalists as well? Or will he be a part of them because of money? Right? They can't control Trump. He's got his own business. He's got his own corporation, his own empire. Ron DeSantis doesn't have that. So in my eyes, Ron DeSantis is more vulnerable from that aspect. Back to the rumor, there's rumors that DeSantis has been working with people like Mitch McConnell or aides of Mitch McConnell behind the scenes against Trump. I don't know if that's true or not. Ron DeSantis, to me, is one of those, Washington establishment that needs to go already. I've seen him, he showed his true colors against Trump, right? Pretended to be his ally, and he only did that at the moment. But once the chips were down, turned his back. So we already know where Mitch McConnell stands. So any aide of Mitch McConnell working with Ron DeSantis or someone of that nature is bad news for me. It's a red flag. I don't want to go back to the political status quo with presidents. Look at where we're at right now. I don't want that. I want somebody who's going to fight for this country and earnestly put this country ahead of everything else. And that's how I feel about Donald Trump. So here's my assessment, my final word, my final thought. I have to agree 100% with Megyn Kelly. I love DeSantis, but let's look at simple math. Let's say if DeSantis were to run right now, we're talking about 8 years of Ron DeSantis, and then who knows? At a max, right? Who knows after that? With Trump, and Ron DeSantis is young, right? With Trump, if Trump wins, and then Ron runs after that, now we've got 12 years of a conservative president. I don't know, that math seems pretty good to me. But for all the bullet points that Megyn Kelly pointed out, I have to agree wholeheartedly. I feel like Trump was cheated out of his last term. I feel that these people harassed him and continue to harass him to this day. They don't want him to go back into the office. They're doing all of this stuff to prevent him from going into the office, right? At the end of the day, Trump has proven that he can run the country better than any politician. Ron DeSantis, and that's on a country level, right? Ron DeSantis has proven that he can run it on a state level. So he doesn't have the same experience that Trump has, now knowing who the swamp is, what the swamp looks like, and we all know it because of him now. Because remember when he talked about the swamp and the establishment, and he talked about how there's this sect of a group of people that are in the way and so on, and so the bureaucrats. He called it out, and people were like, no, that's not how it works. And sure enough, that's how it is. As a matter of fact, my friend Osiris from Stuck in the Middle, he actually calls it out. So let me see if I can bring up his video.
Let's go through this. Trump helped shine a light on these people. Look at this progression. In May of 2018, the headline, look at this headline. May of 2018, there is no deep state. Former intelligence directors slam Trump's conspiracy theory. This is from General Michael Hayden, CIA, military, deep state. He is part of the deep state might be deeper than him, but he's part of the administrative state at the very least, and I'll talk about that difference in a minute. So in 2018, they said there is no deep state. Former intelligence directors slam Trump's conspiracy theories. They're forced to address them because Trump's talking about them, and people like me are like, wait, what's going on? We're learning how this stuff works through him being in the Death Star and talking about it. Then in 2019, they're like, well, there is no deep state, but maybe there should be. Wait, what? That was a kind of slight little turn. So a year ago, there was no deep state from the deep state. Then in 2019, there's no deep state, but maybe we should have one. Why? To protect ourselves from Trump. 2022, Daily Beast. You're going to miss the deep state when it's gone. This is the progression. This is not a meme. This is real life. These are real articles. These are not fake articles.
There you have it. Osiris talks about the deep state, right? And he shows how Trump called out the deep state and how the media changed their narrative. They refused to acknowledge that there was a deep state, and then they talk about how, oh, you're going to miss the deep state when it's gone type of thing. So these are the things that I'm talking about, right? At the end of the day, guys, we need someone who's going to run our country, right? And I'd rather have a conservative president for 12 years at the very minimum than to have it just for 8 and then we're back to square one. And that's assuming that there are no more, voting issues or irregularities, right? I'm going to leave that for another segment because I do believe that the illusion of democracy is not democracy. So I'm going to leave that for another segment. But guys, this is my fair and balanced assessment. I do believe that Trump is wrong for attacking DeSantis. I would like to see more professionalism from my president in regards to that. No need to attack him. But at the same token, I don't like the fact that Ron DeSantis could be behind the scenes working with rhinos, right? Washington elitists like Mitch McConnell. I don't like that one bit. I do think that if it wasn't for Trump, we wouldn't even know who Ron DeSantis is because Andrew Gillum would have beat him. So I do think there is something to say about loyalty as well. And I do think that it is not Ron DeSantis' time, in my opinion. As of right now, my vote, as much as I love Ron DeSantis, my vote still remains with Donald Trump, and it will continue to do so unless something really, really bad were to happen. So guys, that's my fair and balanced assessment. Please write in the comments. Tell me what you guys think. Again, I'm not, you're entitled to your own opinion, whether you like DeSantis or whether you like Trump. I think both are great, so I don't really care about debating opinion. I only debate facts. So guys, until next time, take care. God bless America. Bye-bye.